you guys, welcome back to Meaningful Motivations with Tracy Erickson. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy Erickson, and in this video, I'm going to be telling you guys how to receive inner guidance using a pendulum. So stay tuned. For many, many years now, the pendulum has been a tool I've used on my spiritual journey, and it has helped me to unlock the power of my own intuition and psychic abilities in some cases. So I decided to create this video to show you how to use a pendulum for guidance from your inner self. So I just want to begin by explaining what a pendulum is. A pendulum is basically any weighted item at the end of a string that can move around freely on the string. So basically, a pendulum can be anything at all, as long as it's something on a string. So generally speaking, most pendulums are just a chain with a crystal at the end or some type of mineral or something along those lines. But you can begin dowsing even if you do not have a pendulum, because you can use a necklace, you can use even just a paper clip on the end of a string if that's all you have. My grandma, who has now passed away, used to always be able to tell the sex or gender of a baby based on a pendulum or a weighted item at the end of a string. She would simply use a necklace or anything available, and she would successfully be able to predict the sex of the upcoming baby. And this actually happened at my workplace at one time years ago, back when I used to have a 9-to-5 job. One of my coworkers had a pregnant wife, and he wanted to know if the baby was going to be a boy or a girl. So I told him that you can simply use some type of pendulum to find out the sex of the baby. I didn't have my pendulum with me that day, but I did find a beetle bead in my purse. And so I attached it to a string, and that became the pendulum that day at work. And so when I held the pendulum over his wrist, it indicated that he would have a girl. And then that time would pass and he would have a second baby who would be a boy. And years later, it can be confirmed that first baby was a girl. And then 3 years passed before they had their second baby, and that baby was a boy. Dowsing is a simple and natural process, and it's an ability that every human possesses. In fact, dowsing can be done without any tools at all, because you can actually focus your mind on a particular question and receive the answer through your muscles in your body. We have talked about this before, from the studies done in the book Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, where he used the muscle testing to determine truth from falsehood, and it worked nearly every time. When you use a pendulum to receive guidance, you are actually getting the answers from your spirit through subconscious movements of the body. And those tiny little subconscious movements are actually going to cause the pendulum to swing different ways, revealing the yes or no answer. So it's important to really formulate a proper question before ever picking up a pendulum for guidance. To begin using a pendulum, you have to first of all have your mind completely detached from the answer that you desire. So you have to formulate a question that you are not attached to the answer for. Because the more your mind wants a yes or no answer, the more likely it is that you will simply get the answer that you want or that you're focusing on rather than the real true answer from spirit, from your inner self. So, in order to use a pendulum properly, you should always put your mind into a relaxed, meditative state before even approaching the pendulum for a question. Now, another good piece of advice would be to have a journal on hand anytime that you decide to use your pendulum. Because by journaling your experiences, by journaling your questions and answers, you can always go back and, see how things have played out. And you can also see how, if you ever get incorrect answers, how the question could have possibly been worded better for you to receive a more accurate answer to your question. So, bring yourself into a relaxed, meditative, receptive state of mind that is free of any thought besides your question, and get a journal out, write down your question, and once you receive an answer from your pendulum, write it down. So that way you can refer back to it, and you can also make note when the answer reveals itself through your experience if the pendulum was correct or incorrect in its guidance for you. Like I said, I've been using pendulums for years and years now. And so my pendulum, it knows the way to swing for yes, which look, it started to swing for yes, and the way to swing for no. All right. So for my particular pendulum, swinging towards me and away is yes, and swinging side to side is a no. But you get to determine what direction works for you. Some people use a circular motion, like clockwise is yes, anti-clockwise is no. And so you can do that as well. But generally speaking, you can either ask the pendulum to give you what a yes or no answer is, and then it will show you. Or you can tell the pendulum, this means yes, this means no. And basically, it's like telling your inner self what to expect out of the tool that you are using. Because remember, the pendulum itself does not hold the power. It is you who holds the power while you are holding the pendulum. Now, some people like to add additional answers besides yes or no. Like, some people say if it goes diagonally, then that is maybe, or if it diagonals the other way, then that would mean like reformulate your question. But I don't confuse myself with all that, because I ask my pendulum a yes or no question, so the answer should simply be yes or no. If I'm asking a yes or no question, maybe is the last answer that I want to receive. So it's my personal preference to ignore anything but a yes or no. Now, if for some reason I'm not getting an answer from my pendulum, like if I ask a question and it just keeps spinning or it goes diagonal, then that just tells me that either one, it could be that my mind is scattered and it's not focused enough on the question at hand, or two, it could be that the question does need to be, thought about and reworded to receive the proper guidance. Okay. So that's just how I personally prefer to use my pendulum. My pendulum should only be giving me yes or no. There is no in between when it comes to me and my pendulum. If you are new to using a pendulum, or if you're thinking about starting with using a pendulum, I would recommend that you practice some more. So think of a question or something that you want guidance on each and every day, so that you can ask your pendulum each and every day for answers. And again, you can record that in your journal and record the answers as well, so that you can go back and check the accuracy, as well as, like I said, find ways to ask better questions. Now, another tip for using the pendulum is beyond practice. You have to think of the question that you're going to be asking the pendulum, okay? So, for instance, some things are simply none of your business. And therefore, if you ask about other people, in many cases, you're just trying to meddle, or your mind is not focused on your own spiritual growth or development. So it's like you're more focused on someone else. Therefore, the pendulum answers aren't going to be very accurate if you're asking about someone else's experience, especially if you're new at it. Now, if someone asks you to ask a question with the pendulum, like when my coworker asked about the sex of his baby, then it is completely fine to use a pendulum to douse for answers. So do you see the difference here? It's a matter of ethics. You do not want to infringe on someone else's free will by trying to ask questions that are none of your business. So just be sure you're asking the proper questions at the proper time and in its proper place. Another tip for those new on the pendulum journey is that you really need to slow down your mind before beginning. I know I already talked about this, but it is so important to put your mind in a relaxed, more meditative state to receive the most accurate answers possible. So, as you formulate your question and are not attached to the answer, it's going to be important to take a moment to slow down your mind, to slow down your breathing. So, what I like to do is to simply close my eyes and take a few deep, cleansing breaths. I like to call in my spirit. I like to call in God, and basically whatever you like to do to get in that calm, relaxed, receptive state. And so once I've done some deep breathing, expanded my inner light, that is when I go ahead and ask the question and receive the answers. Now, if you want to receive more specific answers from your pendulum other than just yes or no, you can create your own scale from, say, 0 to 10. And you can create something that your pendulum can swing upon, giving you a more weighted answer from 0 to 10 based on what you've created those numbers to mean within you, right? Or you can simply make your own little chart of answers and see which line the pendulum will swing on. In fact, I did that just the other day. I had made this one, and I couldn't decide what type of content to make on the last video I made. So I created my own little chart of ideas that I had going on, and I stilled my mind and I asked my pendulum which topic I should create content about that day. And the pendulum gave me the answer. I created the content, and it all worked out perfectly for me. So that is yet another way that you can get more specific answers from your pendulum. But if you are like a novice or a beginner, then I would just recommend sticking to the yes or no questions until you build confidence in your dowsing skill. Another thing that I would like to point out for anyone who's new to using a pendulum for inner guidance, and that is to remember that the power lies within you. So the power is not in the pendulum itself. The pendulum is an inanimate object, but it is your consciousness that makes it animated. So the answers lie within you already. The pendulum is simply helping you to reveal the answer that lives inside of you all along. That is why the pendulum is such a powerful tool to help build your own intuition. Now, let's say that you ask a question and you get a wrong answer. Sometimes you can feel it right away. Like if the pendulum said no, but you knew right away that was wrong, you'll go with yes. So in some ways, a wrong answer is a great way to connect with your intuition and do what you believe through your inner knowingness is the right answer. All right. So basically, it's all about practice, practice, practice. It's about building trust in yourself and confidence in your own decision making. But the pendulum is a wonderful tool, and it can also be used for directing healing energies. But that topic is for a whole nother video on another day. Let's just see how well you can tap into your own intuition. So take a moment now and think of 3 yes or no questions that you want to ask. So put them in order in your mind. Question 1, question 2, and question 3 with yes or no answers. All right, so you can pause the video now if you need a moment to think of your 3 questions. Now listen to your inner guidance as you receive the 3 answers. So for question number 1, the answer is yes. Thank you. For question number 2, the answer is no. Thank you. For question number 3, the answer is yes. So either those answers will resonate deeply with you or they won't. And that's going to be a trigger to your intuition. So you'll know if the answer is yes or no based on the pendulum providing a yes or no. Just remember, it is natural to doubt your dowsing at first, but with time, you build confidence and you build trust in yourself in the answers that your inner self is providing to you. Just remember, the power lies within you and your own intuition. And the more that you practice and use a pendulum for guidance, the better you will become at getting the answers that you need. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to click that like button and share this video with all your friends out there. And of course, if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I would love for you to click subscribe down below. And once you have subscribed, you can turn on the notifications bell if you would like to be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.